Show, coming to you from the village of Morningside, snuggled in the beautiful Ozark Mountains. Today, Jim's special guest, Rabbi Jonathan Kahn, Joel Richardson. I'm Kevin Shorey of the Morningside Band and Singers, and now, direct from Gray Street at Morningside, here are your hosts, Jim and Lori Bakker.
Welcome, everybody, to Gray Street.
Yes.
And as they say in the Ozarks, we've got a packed outhouse. And it is packed all the way back. And we're just so thrilled to have all of you here. Rabbi, we're thrilled to have you back.
Yes, we are. We love you, Rabbi, so much.
You just preached last night. Amazing service.
Yes.
And I believe God's raising up a group of people that are going to be ministering in the last days. I believe the church, all the members of the body of Christ, they're going to have to take their positions and be sowers of the seed. They're going to be winners of souls. Amen? Then we're going to be preaching and teaching the word.
The end times are times of danger, trouble, warning. But the picture that the Bible gives of the end times is not just darkness, but polarization. In other words, the dark getting darker, but the light shining. The lights, the righteous shall shine like the stars of heaven. The love of many will grow cold, to be a great falling away, but the gospel will be preached to all nations. When the Jewish people began to return to the land, guess what happened? The rains began to return to the land. There were two noted clusters when the rains were so powerful. You know what the years were? 1948, the rebirth of Israel, and the other was 1967, the restoring of Jerusalem, the latter rains. So you may have your life, or your something in your life may be a dry, barren, hopeless case, lifeless, you can't see it, even your walk. But when the latter rains come, it doesn't matter how lifeless it is, that's when that thing in your life will blossom and bear fruit again. There's nothing hopeless. It doesn't matter how far you are from God. It doesn't matter how messed up your life has been. It doesn't matter. When the rain of God comes, that land has to blossom and bear the fruit of God. It is time for the latter rains.
You know, this is an amazing week.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. The last 2 years, our Expo for survival and storage and food and all the stuff we talk about and how to survive. The last 2 years, the only schedule you had open was these 2 days, and so God brought you here, but it's biblical what God's doing. I mean, it's this week, this conference ends, and we're going to march into Lori's house. We're going to walk through it. We're going to pray for it. You get some more anointing oil now, like I told you. You can anoint the building. I believe in anointing anything. Amen. And we're going to anoint Lori's house.
And
we're going to move in there.
I love that.
But so this Friday, as we're taping the show on Friday, the 20th of this month, it's an amazing month. Tell us about this day, but just to reset this.
This Friday marks the exact center day of the biblical Shemitah. This is the exact center point on Friday. At the same time as that center point, the sun will be darkened. It's the solar eclipse. On the same day, it is the spring equinox. The same day, it is a supermoon. The same day, it's Nisan 1, the beginning of the sacred year of the Bible. You know, you have like all these things on the same day. There's even been secular articles about this without knowing about the Shemitah. But this is a real marker biblically. I mean, this is like 5 things on the same day.
Yeah.
When God does this, he's saying something, don't you think?
Well, it says that I put signs, these things for signs. So it can be, and this is like a convergence that is pretty major. Yeah.
So we have 6 more months until that date, and what date then takes place in 6 months?
Well, Elul 29 is, again, we're not saying things have to happen.
If you know anything about Jewish days of judgment, days of problems, and all kinds of days, on that date, and that date is coming up.
That is the day, the last, is coming up in September. It's coming up September 13th. We're not saying it has to be, but the last The last 7 Shemitas, there's been a collapse every time. The last 2 has been on that exact date, which comes once in 7 years. It's only once in 7 years, which is appointed in the Bible.
Collapse of the stock market.
The collapse of the stock market, collapse of the economy. This was appointed. That's the day in the Bible when when the financial accounts, all debt and credit is wiped clean. These are the dates of the greatest collapses in world history. Up to those days, the last 2 times, on the exact once in 7 year day.
One of them was after 9/11.
One of them was caused by 9/11, which means 9/11, even the timing had to be part of this biblical mystery. It happened September 17, 2001, the greatest crash in world history up to that day. And then that was on Elul 29 at the end of the Shemitah. And then 7 years later, to the day, to the minute, to the on the exact biblical day, 7 years later, Elul 29, 2008, September 29th, comes the greatest collapse to this day on the exact same biblical day, separated by 7 exact Hebrew years down to the second.
And I believe that every 7 years since the Great Depression, and perhaps further back, who knows, something amazing has happened on this Shemitah year. And if you don't know about it, get the book, The Mystery of the Shemitah.
Yes,
but of all
absolutely.
the brand new
That brand
video
new,
we just
the
are
DVD.
introducing on our
yes,
program,
Yes.
The Mystery of the Shemitah Unlocked. This is so good. This is it. But it's going to teach you what's going to happen. We're in it.
Right.
You guys are in the middle
That's
of
right.
it. Because this week is the middle of the Shemitah year.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Equinox means the middle, right?
Yeah, well, the equinox, I mean, that's not even linked to the Shemitah. It all comes together. Equinox is of the moon and the sun, and yet that means the middle there, and then it happens to be on the middle of the biblical Shemitah, on top of it.
Wow. So we have a special offer with these 2 books in it.
That's right. Yes, it's called Unlocking the Shemitah Bundle, and it's for a donation of $25 to the ministry. And it's going to be coming with this brand new The Mystery of the Shemitah Unlocked DVD and Rabbi's newest book, The Mystery of the Shemitah. We also have a very special offer as well. It's called The Mystery of the Shemitah Unlocked Package, and it's for a donation of $55 to the ministry. And it comes.
And that adds this to these packages, right?
Yes, it's The Mystery of the Shemitah Unlocked DVD and The Mysteries Volume 12 with 8 teachings. This package right here, it's actually $180 retail value by itself. And so, like I said, it's going to come with the Unlocking the Mystery of the Shemitah Unlocked DVD plus The Mysteries Volume 12 with 8 teachings, 6 DVD teachings, and 2 CD teachings within that.
And these teachings are amazing.
Yeah.
We went through it quickly yesterday with
and
you,
we got
but-
a new one today, The Mystery of the 7th Shemitah, that is going to, and Newton's riddle. What is Isaac Newton?
Isaac Newton, yeah. Isaac Newton from our grade school, yes.
Wow.
He was
Does he
into,
have something to
he
do
was
with the
into biblical
7th Shemitah?
prophecy.
Really?
He wrote more, I was told, about the Bible than he did about physics.
Amazing.
Don't turn that dial, as they say, because and only why the rabbis here do we offer these.
That's right.
We really want you to pass
Look
them
at
out to
them
your
and-
friends
yes.
and all. And I want to welcome Joel Richardson back to our
Yes,
show.
Joel, it's
great
so
to have you
great to
here. You're the speaker tonight. What will you be sharing with the audience tonight? Just give us a little idea.
I know you said you wanted me to talk about the Islamic Antichrist. I can do that. What I was hoping to talk about is the anchor. So everyone's been doing seminars this week on how to prepare for this. I was going to talk about how to prepare an anchor of hope for the coming storms.
Islam is today, it has been historically, it is today, and it will be until the return of Jesus, the single greatest challenge that the church will face globally before the return of Jesus. We have recent history, World War II, telling us what mankind is capable of. We have the scriptures which tell us that something terrible, unparalleled is yet coming. We have all of the rhetoric throughout the Islamic world spreading throughout Europe, calling for the genocide of the Jewish people, the extermination of the Jewish people, we have it from throughout the Islamic world in a way far more profound than anything that was said before World War II and the Holocaust. 1,000 times worse. And yet, by and large, the church is doing almost nothing to prepare. We have an anchor of hope for our souls, firm and secure. If we truly grasp the gospel, the good news, this is the gospel that Jesus preached. He was simply expounding on the words of the prophets. This is biblical hope. We can get through anything. We can, as things collapse and melt all around us, we can get through the days ahead with confidence. Men's hearts will be failing them for fear of what's coming upon the earth. I'm going to lose my stuff. It's stored up for me in heaven, isn't it? I've been giving generously. I've been storing up His Word in my heart. I've been committing myself to prayer for decades now. And in heaven is stored up for us a great reward if we will remain firm to the end. Amen?
We're videotaping the whole conference, and so anybody who wants the whole conference, I don't know, what do we give that out for?
It's for a donation of $55 to the ministry.
And that's all the seminars, all the workshops, and all. So you'll get, and you must see Rick Joyner at his best. Ministering
fabulous.
Victory and a tremendous message. And then last night, the rabbi, we just had an amazing time.
It really was.
And the Spirit came and people were healed. It's just an amazing, amazing week. And so if you want that, I didn't mean to start out promoting all this stuff here. But I do have to say hello to Ben Kitchlow.
Yes.
I am so thrilled.
Ben Kitchlow is
Ben
in the
Kitchlow,
house.
right here. Stand up, Ben. Come on, stand up.
Stand up, sir.
There's Ben Kitchlow.
Woo! Now, those of you don't even know.
Give him a microphone. Ben, welcome to Morningside.
Yes.
Do you know Lori and I have tried to book you for years? And I don't
He's like,
know if
really?
you got a bad agent or we just can't get through, or maybe you're like the President of the United States, you got to go through.
How do they say it? I'll have my people get in touch with your people?
Yeah. Now, we know that story, Ben.
Ben, I have
We know
I
that
have
story.
honestly, for years, I've actually interviewed you a lot. You don't know it, because in my mind, I've had you on my show, and I've won. I'm serious. This man is so important.
Yes.
He and I both worked for CBN. You were co-host. I was the co-host and the host for the 700 Club for about 8 years. And you and I worked in the same place. But your ministry on the 700 Club, which I helped found, my wife is probably sitting beside me today, and you know the story, I know, of how you looked into that screen.
You did.
Lori.
This is, I just told Rabbi right before we came out on the set, I said, I have to tell you, Ben Kitchlow is in the house, I was just told.
I mean, why can't you show up when there's no guests? I would. You've been a gift from heaven. I would have sat here.
You are.
God sent, like in the old days at
Yes,
700 Club in the early days, we didn't have any guests, and the meter man would come in the chat. I'm serious. I'd put him on the air. Anybody.
So the story this is the truth, Ben. I mean, I get to tell you this, which is an honor and a privilege for me as I sit here, is in 1987-ish, around that year, I wasn't living for the Lord. And you know my story, born and raised in church, went away from the Lord for so many years. I'm standing in a doorway. My mom and I are sharing a home. So I'm on one side of the house, and I'm standing in the doorway, and I'm smoking a marijuana cigarette, and we call it a joint, a marijuana cigarette. And I'm smoking and I'm puffing it outside to the backyard. In the room, the TV was on, and it just happened to be the 700 Club. And you were on the TV screen, and you said there is a woman standing in the door jamb of her room, smoking a marijuana cigarette. You're wearing blue jeans and a blue denim shirt. And I looked down, and I was wearing blue jeans and a blue denim shirt. And you said, if you would just give everything to the Lord and completely turn your life around, He has a plan for your life that is more wonderful than you could possibly ever imagine. And I knew that word was for me. And little did I know that one day that word would truly become a reality in my life. And now I sit on Christian television and get to share that word to so many people. So thank you for just being obedient. Thank you for it. Thank you.
Well, it just goes to show you, man, God never changes. He's still able to use jackasses to get his work done.
You're amazing, Ben. I love you. I always have. My
Ben,
heart.
if God can use you and me, He can use anybody.
Hey,
Right?
that's my.
I love that.
I love
you,
too.
and
You're the best.
thank you for my wife,
Thank
for
you
you
for that
obeying
word.
God.
Thank
because
you.
the prophecy came true,
It did.
and she came from the hell on earth
Yeah.
of living.
Craziness.
Drugs on top of drugs and all the things, you know her story. But this is the man who God used
That-
to begin
that word.
that walk, to begin that step in the right direction.
And it showed me how important Christian television is. You know, it really did. It really showed me the importance of it. And, you know, not to make fun of it or not to judge it or to ridicule it.
What do you think of the election in Israel? We talked about it yesterday.
Wow.
Why we're taping this broadcast this week.
Yeah.
Netanyahu won. Let's roll. Let's roll this little piece of tape of what's going on.
Another Fox News alert. Celebrations underway in Israel. Get this, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his Likud party cruising to victory in the nation's elections.
That's right. You can see the crowd going wild there. Now they must form a coalition government. So what does this mean for one of America's biggest allies?
Well, John Huddy is live in Jerusalem with the very latest. John?
Yeah. Well, Steve, Elizabeth, and Brian, this was a surprising victory. And I say that because the exit polls before the election that came out on Friday showed that Prime Minister Netanyahu was trailing his opponent, his challenger, Isaac Herzog, and the Zionist Union Party, basically Israel's Labor Party. But last night, Prime Minister Netanyahu surged ahead, getting roughly 29 to 30 seats in the 120-seat Knesset compared to Herzog's 24 seats, and then cruising to a fourth term as Israel's prime minister, which, by the way, he would be the longest-serving prime minister here.
I hear the shofars.
Blow the
blowing.
trumpets. When we announced yesterday in this audience, when we announced that it looked like the polls were saying he was going to win, have you ever, Rabbi, heard a crowd go crazy like, you are fanatical bunch of people. I mean, you know, you'd swear it was you were the member of their party.
Yeah.
It
I
felt
think
like
you
we were
are.
at
You're a party
Netanyahu's
of Jerusalem.
headquarters last night. I
Right.
mean, this couldn't have been. They couldn't have been more excited than you were.
There was a newscast you were telling me about that one of our friends reported on what happened last night.
From Joel Rosenberg.
Yes.
Yeah, well, he wrote, the Israeli media was completely wrong. The newspaper polls were completely wrong. The exit polls were completely wrong. The Obama team efforts to unseat an American ally were a complete failure.
Go on.
Netanyahu wasn't losing. He wasn't about to be shipped off to retirement in disgrace. This wasn't close. This was a landslide. Bibi's blowout. A crushing victory, says the Time of Israel. A sweeping victory, says the Jerusalem Post. A shocking election victory, says Ynet News. Benjamin Netanyahu's Likud party is set to emerge as the election's big winner. You know what the amazing thing is? Everybody was saying he was going to lose. Everybody was saying he was going to lose. And then when it started coming, the results started coming, we looked on the web, and all the liberal sites were saying it's too close to call, while everyone else was saying he's winning. And then it went to...
And the other party went home and turned their lights out.
Yeah, right.
And yet nobody in America, except a few of us folks that believe in that prayer and answers to prayer.
Yeah, and the victory kept growing. Then they said, well, he won. Now he just kind of got through. Then it's a landslide. So, I mean, surprised everybody. Everybody.
I believe prayer changed things. I believe people prayed.
Amen.
When Israel is built on miracles.
Yes.
Yes.
1948 was America.
Yes.
1967 was America.
Yes, and Netanyahu believes that. Netanyahu believes that Israel is the fulfillment of biblical prophecy. And we were sharing the other time that, I've been given the first-hand witness that two prophecies were given to him, but the last one was, this time the Lord said, I'm going to put you back in power, but you cannot compromise. And he has not. He's become even stronger, and it's almost as if the Lord honored it. He came back. And the other thing is, we were talking about what happened in Congress on Purim, when he went there like Esther, and against protocol, and Esther said, if I perish, I perish. Well, Esther didn't perish, and neither did Netanyahu.
Wow. I love that.
Don't you see this as God's grace?
Yeah.
For Israel, the miracle of God.
Yeah, yes, but at the same time, it's a rift between the Israeli administration and the American administration, which is I'm not scared about for Israel, I'm scared for America.
Yes.
Right. The Bible, at the same time when everything's happening in America, this is what's happening. So this is going to be a very interesting development now. We didn't hear any celebration from the White House over this. No. And it's going to be very interesting because he has strengthened the position, saying, we're not going to compromise here, and so this is going to come to a head in the days to come.
Right.
At the same time, a powerful space storm hits the world, so there's movement in the heavenlies.
There is movement.
I think God saw this election. I think God was watching. Very interested. If he has TVs in heaven, all the big screens were on. I want you to know.
Oh, yeah.
He cares about Israel. It's his land. That's what
we
don't get. We can't play with. He said, this is my world, my land, my dirt, my plants, and don't touch it.
Yeah.
Don't give it away. You can't even sell it hardly. You know what I mean? It's God's land.
Yeah, and the Bible says very clearly, the Lord is in charge of raising up and pulling down leaders, certainly in Israel. This is certainly in Israel. And the end times is a picture of the nations coming against Israel while Israel is holding and over the issue of Jerusalem. And this is perfectly in line with that prophecy.
As Esther came to
the throne,
the king.
Yeah.
If I die, I die, she said. You saw the parallels in this all along.
Amazing. Amazing. And Netanyahu may now become the longest prime minister in Israel's history. If he goes for 4 years, he will exceed even Ben-Gurion, who was the first one. Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Incredible.
We will be right back after this special message.
When you need a portable emergency power system that is ready at a moment's notice, the fuelless generator is exactly what you're looking for.
If I thought an EMP bomb was coming, or if I thought there was going to be a big storm or a big problem, I would want one of these in my house.
Something is going to happen in 2015 that is going to change how we view our system, how we view life. And when that something happens, you're not going to be able to get a fuelless generator. It's going to be impossible to get a generator.
I'm really enthralled with this device. It's an elegant technology. With every storm we've had this winter, I just pulled the thing out, I set it up in the living room, I run some extension cords into other rooms. I even ran my 60-inch television off it.
Call 1-888-988-1588 or write to Jim at P.O. Box 7330, Branson, Missouri 65615.
It's such an incredible offer. For example, this is for a donation of $2,500 to the ministry. And the unit just by itself is a retail value of $2,500, but you're also going to get a solar panel, which is a retail of $500, then the 20-foot extension cord, and that retails for over $50, and then the crank, which is a retail of over $200. So it's an absolutely incredible savings.
A lot of people ask me to endorse stuff and all that. This is the only thing I have been endorsing like this. I fully believe in this product.
Wow. But can you imagine in the pitch darkness that you have light?
You can also go to the website jimbakkershow.com. Thank you for your continued support that helps keep us broadcasting around the world.
Well, we have the tapes we're sending out that has 8 messages, 8 teachings. And one of them is on the mystery of the 7th Shemitah.
Which links up with Israel. I mean, it's the Shemitah, mystery of the Shemitah linking with Israel and end time prophecy.
Let's start.
Well,
what is it first?
Well,
can you tell me
yeah,
what is the
yeah.
7th?
Yeah, well, first of all, what people don't realize, one of the missing things in prophecy is that, or people's view of it, is that the Shemitah is crucial. What's the last period of prophecy? It's the tribulation period. How many years? 7 years. Shemitah. What's it based on? Daniel 77s, which is also linked to the Shemitah. All these things. So this is crucial. Now the thing is that every 7 years was a Shemitah, the Sabbath year. But every 7 Shemitahs, every 49 years, was the super Shemitah that we call the Jubilee. So this is a prophetic key. Now what was Jubilee? Jubilee was the time when if you lost everything in your life, you lost your home, lost your ancestral possession, lost your land. When the Jubilee comes, 7th Shemitah, you return to your land. You return to your ancestral possession. You return to your father's possession, whatever you lost. So now we know that the end time prophecy is centered on Israel coming back to the land. Israel lost its ancestral possession in 70 AD, was driven out, lost its home, lost Jerusalem, lost all these things. But God said, Jesus said, he's not coming back until the Jewish people say, blessed is he from Israel, from Jerusalem. So it's got to happen. This is prophetic. So could the mystery of the 7th Shemitah, could that actually give the timing of Israel's restoration, end time events, what has happened and what may come very soon? Well, the answer is yes. In fact, it gives the exact parameters of the greatest prophetic events of restoration in end-time prophecy. Now, we don't know when the Jubilee was, because we have no record in the time of Jesus. But we do have the record of when the Shemitah was. So the key is the Jubilee has to come the year after the Shemitah. The 7th Shemitah, 49th Shemitah, leads into the 50th year. So it's got to be the year after a Shemitah. So the first thing of this is that 1917 is the year of the Shemitah. World shaking, Shemitah is linked to world shaking and all these things. The period that is given, the parameter of this mystery means it ends in September 1917. So September 1917 to September 1918 is the key period of the parameters when something has to happen. Did anything happen? What happened in the exact parameters is that Britain is winning World War I. The Ottoman Turkish Empire falls. They have the land of Israel. Britain takes the land of Israel, says we are giving this back now to the Jewish people. They can return home. It's going to be a Jewish homeland. This is the first time in 2,000 years. When does it happen? November 1917, the exact time parameter of the Jubilee restoration. So here Israel is returning home. Here everyone is returning to their ancestral possession, the beginning of the restoration. Now, this is going to lead to the next. Now, if you take this and you go to the next 7th Shemitah, where does it take you? And I believe you have a roll in here, which is going to go from 1917 to the next prophetic thing, and then we'll take it to where we are.
Okay.
It's the first time in 2,000 years that the land is being restored to the Jewish people. The year following the Shemitah was September 1917 to September 1918. The Balfour Declaration takes place in November 1917. Thus, the land is restored to the Jewish people in the year following the Shemitah, corresponding to the Jubilee. It's a prophetic Jubilee, and according to the mystery, the Jewish people now would return home to the land they had lost, to their father's possession, to their ancestral homeland. Everyone shall return to their possession.
The mystery of the Jubilee concerns the seventh Shemitah. So what happens if we move forward in time from the Shemitah of 1917, 49 years to come to the seventh Shemitah? What is the seventh Shemitah? It brings us to the Shemitah of September 1965 to September 1966. The year following the Shemitah would begin September 1966 and end September 1967. Did anything significant take place within that year and within those dates? Any event of restoration? The answer is yes. According to Bible prophecy, the Jewish people have to be restored not only to their homeland, but also to their ancient holy city of Jerusalem. In the midst of the Six-Day War, Israeli soldiers enter the Lion's Gate of the biblical city of Jerusalem. Through gunfire, they make their way to the holiest site in Judaism, the Western Wall. There they weep. And after 2,000 years, the Jewish people are restored to their ancient capital, Jerusalem. It happens on June 7th, 1967. Within the parameters of the year ending in September 1967, the year following the seventh Shemitah, the Jubilee. The seventh Shemitah had ushered in the second restoration of the land. According to the mystery of the seventh Shemitah, the Jewish people had returned to what they lost 2,000 years before, Jerusalem. They had regained their long-lost possession and returned to their ancestral home. The two great restorations of the land each happened according to the mystery.
The Bible ordains that in the year of the Jubilee, the shofar, the ram's horn, is to be sounded. The first thing that happens after the soldiers reached the Temple Mount in 1967 is that the ram's horn is sounded from the Temple Mount, the sound of the Jubilee.
The man who sounds it is Rabbi Shlomo Goren. Rabbi Goren was born in the year 1917, the time of the other restoration. When he sounds the shofar, he is 50 years old, the number of the Jubilee.
The mystery of the Shemitah lies behind the two great end-time restorations of Israel's lands. Now, the pattern and cycle does not have to continue, but if it did, what would be the seventh Shemitah from the last restoration?
The seventh Shemitah begins September 2014, goes to September 2015. The year following the seventh Shemitah is that of September 2015 to September 2016. While the cycle doesn't have to continue and nothing significant has to take place, in the last two occurrences, it has meant war in the Middle East, war in the land of Israel, and a war resulting in a prophetic restoration.
Rabbi, are you saying?
Wow.
Rabbi. I can't even say it. That war could come from this.
If it follows the cycle, if it follows this, the last two times, what it has been, each one has meant a war in the Middle East. It was World War I, and then it was the Six-Day War. A war that focuses on or centers on the land of Israel at the end, and a war that results in a prophetic restoration. First the land, then Jerusalem, all according to the Jubilee of restoration. So where's the next one? Again, we're not saying God has to do anything. However, we should be aware. It begins September 2015 to September 2016. So it begins, when the Jubilee begins, it actually begins on a Hebrew holiday. It begins on Yom Kippur. The Jubilee can only begin on Yom Kippur. And that is, again, for someone who always says, be careful about dates, I'm going to give you the dates. September 23rd is Yom Kippur of the Jubilee, of this prophetic Jubilee. Now go to Isaac Newton, the man we learned about with gravity and all those things. Isaac Newton was more a biblical scholar than he was a physicist. He wrote more on the Bible, more on prophecy, end-time prophecy. And what he did is he looked at the 77s of Daniel, and he had an interesting interpretation that there would be 7 sevens of years, or 49 years, from the time of the restoration of Jerusalem till this great end time event. So, Jerusalem was restored in 1967. Now, people have taken this, and we're going to be dogmatic, just interesting. People have taken this, and prophetically, one of the measures in prophecy is that some of those prophetic things that are given are based on a 360-day year. Some of the things in Revelation are based on that, a 360, it's called a prophetic year. Well, they took June 7th, 1967, as is the restoration of Jerusalem, took Isaac Newton's calculations, and made it by 7 sevens, or 49 years of the prophetic 360-day years. Where does it take you? It takes you to September 2015, and it takes you to September 23rd, Yom Kippur, the beginning of the Jubilee.
Wow.
6 months from now.
Yeah, and just about 10 days
bigger.
from Elul 29, the Wipeout Day. I mean, all these things, again, doesn't have to happen.
And
but I
it's,
take
and
note.
it's Elul 29 also.
Elul 29 is 10 days before. That's the peak of the Shemitah.
Yeah.
10 days later comes September 23rd.
And is there a blood
Yom
moon in
Kippur.
there somewhere?
And then the next thing is Sukkot, Feast of Tabernacles, during which you have the last blood moon, the blood moon period. It all comes together. And on Elul 29, you have a solar eclipse, the Wipeout Day.
Signs in the heavens.
Yeah, it kind of matches what happens on Friday. It's kind of like a foreshadow in the heavens of what happens at the end.
Now, if this is the first time you've ever heard Rabbi, you'd say, well, that's interesting. But he does this every day in every way.
Yeah, I know.
And it's on top facts, on top of facts, on top of facts. Facts you can't change, dates you can't change.
No.
Mathematics that don't change is God's math.
No. And it's there. I mean, listen, this is
So
exact.
Newton got into this act
He
somehow
got into
now.
it, yeah.
Isaac Newton.
Isaac Newton, gravity, law of physics.
The one who apple fell on his head,
He
right?
was, he was more into Daniel and the 77s of Daniel, and that's what he did. So they call it Newton's riddle, but it's that 49 years from June 7th comes out to Yom Kippur, the prophetic jubilee of 2015.
Wow.
And again, God doesn't have to, but
Right.
be aware.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We have another clip from your
From
video.
the Mystery of the Shemitah, and that is that
the one we're sending out this week.
Yeah, the Shemitah is not just about the rise and fall of the stock market and economy. It literally has determined the rise and fall of nations.
Right.
So could this next coming one, could it be linked? Could this be linked? Could it have anything to do with the rise and fall of nations, including America? So this will just a quick setup of that, of how it's been, and then we can get to what's been happening now.
All
You
right,
ready? Let's roll that.
The conflict of the Second World War begins in 1938 when Hitler seizes Austria and Czechoslovakia. 1938 is the biblical year of the Shemitah, and it begins a 7-year biblical cycle, 1938 to 1945. The world cataclysm will follow the biblical cycle of the Shemitah.
As the year of the Shemitah, 1944 to 1945, approaches, the Second World War reaches its peak. Again, the Shemitah brings the falling of powers, the collapsing of empires, and the nullifying of landscapes. And it builds up to the greatest power of nullification the world had ever seen, with the dropping of the atomic bomb. The 7-year cycle and the year of the Shemitah reach their end in the first week of September 1945. That very same week, the Second World War reaches its end.
The war is sealed by the victors' procession in the streets of Berlin days after the surrender of the Japanese Empire. It is the only procession that will take place at the war's conclusion, sealing the Second World War.
The date of that procession is September 7th, 1945. That's Elul 29, the Shemitah's climactic day, and the very day that ends the 7-year biblical cycle.
Yeah. You make it so clear. You make it so easy to understand.
Well, it's the rise and fall of nations, the greatest shaking of nations in modern history, and the rise and fall have happened on the Shemitah year. Now, here we are in a Shemitah year. Has anything happened? Has there been any sign of something happening? Well, in the first 2 weeks of the Shemitah, something happened. First of all, America has been the #1 nuclear power on Earth. Well, in the first week of the Shemitah, that came to an end. Russia overtook America and became the #1 nuclear power on Earth in the first week. In the second week of the Shemitah, there's an American age, and we talk about the American age. That began in 1871 when America becomes the strongest economic power on Earth, overtakes the British Empire. That age, that begins everything else. That has been for 140 years. We've all we've known it from then. The second week of the Shemitah, the American age as the strongest economic power on Earth came to an end. It is ended. China takes the crown on the very second week of the Shemitah. That alone, if nothing else happened, that's going to continue, and that's going to be massive for world history. America, that crown, I've been warned, I've been here, from the beginning, I've warned that if we don't come back to God, that American age, that crown is going to be removed. Well, it's beginning to be removed now. You cannot defy God, blaspheme God, go against his ways, and expect the blessings of God to remain on the land. Just will not work. So here we are watching the beginning of this right now. In here's something else that happened. We've already talked about the cows.
Yes.
That happened on the exact day of the beginning of the Shemitah. Often what happens is that at the beginning of the Shemitah, there's a foreshadow of what's going to happen at the end of the Shemitah. Well, on there was an earthquake that struck America, over 6 on the Richter scale. It struck America on what day? It struck it on September 25th, the opening day of the Shemitah. Same day as the sign of the cow, same day of all those things.
Put the cow up. I love that cow.
You love that.
We have the cow's mom and dad here.
The guardians, let's just say. Hap and Pam. They're with us.
Hap, who's known as Happy, Hap and Pam, sitting on the front row. This cow was born on their farm.
Yeah.
On what day, Rabbi?
September 25th, the opening day of the 7th year of the Shemitah.
That's right.
And 7 is the number of cows back in
it's used
about 4,000 years ago.
The first warning of the coming famine, the first warning of that is the dream of Pharaoh with the 7 cows, seven and cows there. And yes, on that day.
And people say, well, maybe Hap painted that on. One thing we learned, mama cow is, what do you call it? Do you call them mama cow? The mama, Mondo tried getting pictures of the baby with the 7. We have a little neat video of that. Mama don't let anybody get near baby 7. This is Shemitah, the baby I call her Shemitah. And then the day before, 2 days before, a cow was born in Pittsburgh.
Yes.
In Pennsylvania, at least.
Yes, and with the number 7 on its head. And the number, and the Associated Press rushed down to Pennsylvania, took a picture the day before, released it, went out to America, the biblical sign on the same exact day, September 25th, the day that the other cow was born with 7.
To kick off the Shemitah year.
On the day of the beginning of the 7th year.
What does God need to do? He paints the moon red. He goes and gives us all these signs in the heavens, all the dates back. If we just study. We can't say freaking, that the word's a freaking thing.
Okay.
But the kids when you speak to kids, you can say anything because the kids don't care anymore. But they're not lazy. We have gotten so lazy, we have all our theology studied for by other people. All you got to do is start studying the words yourself and read it, and you're going to find truth, and it's going to pop out.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, go on, Rabbi. I've got to stop interrupting.
Well, just several things. So you have those signs. All that happens. One of the signs in the Bible of also warning is plague. And we've of course known about Ebola. The day that Ebola first appears in America is September 25th, the opening day of the Shemitah. Earthquake.
That's right.
The plague. The first day of that. The stock market goes into a violent reeling for a month, starting that same week. On that day comes the greatest collapse of that week. You have several signs. The American age ended. So all these things. That was just the beginning. The last Shemitah, a foreshadow happens at the beginning. The first bank failure happens on the opening day of the Shemitah. At the end of the Shemitah, the whole world is going to collapse. The whole economic collapse of 2008. Well, so we've gotten several things about this, including things that could foreshadow what could be the falling of America. And then you put this all together with what's happening in America right now. You put it together with what's happening morally, spiritually, and put it together with what's happening with Israel, with America, blessing Israel or not blessing Israel, and it becomes ominous. This is the year, we mentioned before, the year of the Shemitah is the same year that America most likely will end the definition of marriage as we know it. This is key. This is crucial. All these things coming at the same time. The apostasy of America is accelerating, and God is not mocked.
No.
So I believe all these things are cause that we need to be ready. We need to be prepared.
Like we talked about Friday, 3 things, and I wrote them down, and I was so excited about it. I wrote them all out by hand. I don't think I have my notepad here where I wrote it on.
Right.
And so we know there's going to be eclipse. There's going to be
A super moon.
And the equinox.
First day of spring.
First
day of the Jewish Holy Year, Nisan 1.
So he keeps adding to it.
No, it keeps growing. Yeah.
Somehow Friday is important.
It's a marker.
This Friday.
Biblically, I mean biblically, it's a key marker actually.
Okay, we're going to talk about the mystery of the dark angel. Yes. But I get you in trouble because I run with this. You know, I run with this. But 6 months from this Friday is the end of the Shemitah.
Yes.
The dates, the
Yes.
times. 7 years ago, 2007 and 8.
Yep.
The biggest crash we've known in modern history. Is that right?
Ever in world
And
history.
I mean, it was the day, so help me God, that I gave up. I was $1.5 million in debt behind my bills. And I've been dragging that for a long time because we just started up in the little downtown cafe. And I talked to God. And I said, God, if I can't make it now, what am I going to do? The whole thing's collapsing.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, God just gave me faith. I mean, just like leap, you know, just like sparks from smitten steel, remember? And I said, we're not going under. And I said, I'm going to believe God every day. I'm going to work harder than I've ever worked. I'm not going to just sit back and say, God, you do it all. I'm going to do faith with works. We start Lori's house, and God speaks to me to not just build Lori's house, but to build in Moldova a girl home to save women and girls that are going to be sold into slavery if somebody doesn't rescue them. And God speaks to me to build the whole house. And within a few days, I give, $150,000, $200,000. We were in the middle doing something. That's insane, Rabbi. I mean, really, that was like, God, what are you doing? I've decided in the middle of this thing, we're going to build Lori's house, and then we're going to go and build another house over in Moldova.
Right.
But the minute I wrote a check, and I don't even know how I did it. I hope it wasn't a bad check. I don't think it was. But I wrote a check to Philip Cameron. And before he got home, I had enough money come in to cover that check. And within days, every bill we had was paid.
Right.
Wow.
Our income then doubled, tripled, quadrupled.
Wow.
And up until now, and I don't know why the last few months, we're dragging about $1.5 million behind us again. But we're getting caught up. We're on the uphill. And I realize I can't, I think people need to understand this. You've got to do something. You can't just say, I believe God, and sit down in your backyard in a lawn chair. This building has been built because people built it. I stood right there, right where you guys are sitting. Stood right there, drove our car. This was a big pile of dirt and a big empty field.
Yeah, it was.
Stepped out of the car, told Mr. Crawford, this is it. This is the place. And we have watched God move in the most supernatural way.
Thank you, Lord.
But it was on that date back then, which was 7 years ago,
Yes.
that it looked like the end for me.
Mm-hmm.
It looked like the end for Netanyahu.
Mm.
I mean, everybody was prophesying his end. Do you hear me? And some of you have been spoken over. And people have spoken nasty things, evil things, even people you work with. And you've let it rest in your brain. And right now, in the middle of this program, I want you to bind it. If God can deliver Netanyahu, if God could deliver us from total destruction, supply all of our needs in the middle of impossible. Impossible. We used to sing a song about God specializes in things thought impossible.
Yes.
Go on, Rabbi.
Yeah. The Shemitah doesn't have to, can be a blessing as well, because the Shemitah was meant to be a blessing.
Sure.
And it means actually, in Hebrew, it can mean the fall or the collapse or the shaking, but it can also mean the release.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be a blessing. Right. So for those who are in God's will, it can be a blessing. That's the point. It would be a release, and that. So and remember, you're talking about the time. You're talking about the greatest crash ever. That's Elul 29, wipeout day. And how much was wiped out? What was the number that God had on there, or that was on Wall Street? That 777. Again, the mystery of 7. He keeps having it appear. Same thing. What it tells you is that God is in control of every single bank account, every single financial transaction, everything.
Yes.
So the key is to be in God's will. The most important thing is to be in God's will, and don't hold back. Give to God's purposes. Bless God and bless that, and God will provide for you in the lean times.
Right.
He gave the warning to Joseph that he would prepare. But the greatest preparation is getting God's will, do God's will, and He will honor that.
That's right. Amen.
Yeah.
Yes, Rabbi.
We will be right back after this special message. What if it was you being snowed in for days or weeks at a time? What will happen if a hurricane or a tornado strikes your home? Natural disasters occur every day, and they can happen anywhere without a moment's notice. With terrorism on the rise and a broken political landscape, we need to be prepared for the inevitable. Get ready now. At some point, food will be the most valuable commodity in the entire world. Our hearty home-cooked food, Year for You, is available for a donation of $550 or more to the ministry. This will ship to you in your choice of 4 buckets or 2 totes. This offer comes with 1,165 servings, which comes to 44 cents per serving. As a bonus, this offer comes with 91 servings of premium recipes. The hearty home-cooked food Year for 2 offer is for a donation of $1,100 or more to the ministry. This will come in 8 buckets or 4 totes. The Year for 2 contains 2,330 servings of food, which comes to 44 cents per serving. You will also receive 182 servings of premium recipes as a bonus. Our hearty home-cooked food Time of Trouble offer is for a donation of $3,000 or more to the ministry. This will come to you in your choice of 28 buckets or 14 totes. You will receive 7,760 servings of food, which comes to 37 cents per serving. You will also receive 273 servings of premium recipes. Each of these offers include instant milk, 9-grain cereal with salba, macaroni and cheese, macaroni lasagna, chicken noodle soup, beans and rice, vegetable stew, cheesy rice casserole, white cheddar pasta, veggie Alfredo, stroganoff, tortilla soup, black bean burgers, cornbread muffins, potato soup, chili, potato slices, chocolate fudge brownies, pancakes, and biscuits and gravy. That's 20 different recipes for you to choose from. Call 1-888-988-1588 You can also go to the website at jimbakkershow.com or write to P.O. Box 7330, Branson, Missouri 65615. Don't wait. Now is the time to prepare for your future. Get your food now for your family.
Our time's gone for this broadcast. I want you to be sure that only while the rabbi's here are we offering this. And all of these messages are in their fullness.
In their fullness, yeah. I could just touch on
in
it.
this kit, the
Right.
Mysteries Volume 12.
Yeah.
Wow, you've been coming a long time, right?
Apparently it's been 12 times.
Yeah, this is his 12th volume.
Be careful of the 13th. No.
But they're videos mainly and 2 DVDs. I mean, 2 CDs, I believe. The rabbi makes house calls. You just get this, and he will minister to you in your house. And then the new video
Right.
that you just have to have. You need to understand the Shemitah.
Yeah.
When you first wrote that book, I didn't know what in the world.
The mystery
Nobody
of the
did.
Shemitah.
I'd never heard of a Shemitah.
No.
And now I think I know. And the amazing timings of God, the amazing Shemitah. And now we've got every 7 years. And we talk about Jubilee and all these things. And the Shemitah, it's like we tapped in, you've tapped in to the supernatural, to even the mathematics, even the, I always believe that the sun, the moon, and the stars, it's all operated by God, that He put it into being, and somehow, if you could ever tap into that power. And I think soothsayers sometimes tap into a little bit. They can actually tell the future by the planets and things. And they don't get it right most of the time, but they get little pieces, and so everybody thinks, oh, they must be. No.
Yes.
It's just this great God has put things in order.
Yeah.
And this mystery of the Shemitah unlocked. This helped me so much as I began to watch it. And this is where we are right now.
Yeah. Yes.
We are there.
Yeah.
And it's time. And so what are we offering this for today? All the big volume of videos and CDs and DVDs.
That's right.
And the movie, I call it, on the mystery of the Shemitahs unlocked.
Yes, we're offering this for a donation of only $55 to the ministry.
So you get both of these massive video.
You get the Mystery of the Shemitah Unlocked DVD and also the Mysteries Volume 12, which is a total of 8 teachings just right here, 6 of which are DVDs and 2 which are CDs.
So if you'd like to order those, call right now. Our operators are standing by at 1-888-988-1588. Or you can drop us a line at Post Office Box 7330, Branson, Missouri, 65615, or our ever-evolving website.
Yes, just go to jimbakkershow.com.
Remember, God loves you. He really does. Bye-bye for today.
Bye-bye. We love you.
Thank you for watching today's broadcast. Remember to receive any of the products mentioned in today's broadcast. Call 1-888-988-1588. That number again is 1-888-988-1588. Or write to Jim Bakker, P.O. Box 7330, Branson, Missouri 65615. All of our products are available on our website at jimbakkershow.com. Thank you for your prayers and support that help keep us broadcasting around the world.